Decades have passed since the Kempton Park Hospital closed its doors. While most buildings rot away in this time, forgotten in the void of history, the Kempton Park Hospital seems to have suffered another fate, one where the world has turned its eyes towards it instead of looking away, not just because of the people who once roamed its halls, but because of the spirits that continue to roam its halls today. The hospital, as it lies abandoned and degrading, is now seen as the most haunted place in South Africa, filled with stories of those who died peacefully and could not find rest, and those who died tragically and may never find another place for their souls to go. In the years since its closing, people seeking a cheap thrill have entered the building, with many of them leaving it terrified. They claim to have seen the spirits that walk its halls and heard the sounds of babies crying in its basement, among other things. While it is possible that these people have a strong and vivid imagination, the hospital's history tells us otherwise. It's unclear when the Kempton Park Hospital opened its doors. However, we do at least know it was between 1976 and 1978. The facility was by no means a small operation, holding rooms for 300 beds and equipment that could deal with almost any problem. Situated in Gauteng, the hospital treated patients from the surrounding areas in an attempt to bring both treatment and comfort to those who really needed it. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people found help within its walls by well-trained nurses and doctors. Many of those people have only good stories to tell about the hospital. However, even while good was being done in the hospital, there was also dark and nefarious things taking place behind its walls. During the year leading up to December 1977, things started to change. Although most reports say that the hospital abruptly closed its doors, the truth was that it was slow and methodical. Patients were moved and staff were reassigned. Then, in a somber end, the Kempton Park Hospital's doors were closed the day after Christmas. This, of course, should have been the end of the hospital's history. However, an event that took place before the doors were closed has caused many to keep talking about the building. If there is one profession that everyone trusts with their lives, in the most literal sense, it's doctors. You go to a hospital with the injuries, the nature of which can sometimes even lead to your death, and you trust that the doctor in charge of you can keep you alive. In this case, the name of the doctor was Esther Heisen, a man who doesn't deserve the title of a doctor, but was still given the opportunity to treat thousands of people, the majority of them being babies. Esther Heisen was a man with an incredibly high IQ, a genius if you will. He spent a number of years working with a pediatrician and even went on to open his own medical practice. It's unclear at what point he became employed at the Kempton Park Hospital. However, his role there was as a pediatrician, which meant that he worked with children, possibly the most fragile human bodies. This would all be okay if he had the proper training. However, with the advantage of his incredibly high IQ, he was able to get away with lying. Esther Heisen had never been to medical school, and a number of parents were unknowingly putting the lives of their children in his hands. While by the grace of God, the majority of these children survived their encounters with him, sadly, there were a number of them that also didn't. One mother reported that a child ended up with cerebral palsy after Esther Heisen did 4 lumbar punches on her when she was just 4 months old. Sadly, this was not the only child that passed away, and as time went on, Esther Heisen had wrongly diagnosed and wrongly treated a number of children, leading to their untimely deaths. It's unclear how, but Esther Heisen was eventually caught and went through a lengthy trial. During this time, it was actually found that he was a high school dropout. He admitted to the fraud and was charged with 3 counts of culpable homicide, impersonating a doctor, and defrauding patients, leaving him with a charge of 18 years in prison, his sentence starting in May of 1992. While Esther Heisen would spend nearly 2 decades in jail, the legacy of death that he left behind would continue to grow. After the hospital closed its doors, it became a playground for urban explorers, people seeking a quick thrill, and most prevalently, ghost hunters. However, all three groups started to notice strange and paranormal activity within the hospital, with the main thing they observed being strange sounds. Many of the explorers of the hospital, who chose to enter it at night, started to hear the sounds of crying babies from deep within it. The sounds would echo through the hallways and rooms, but come from no specific location, meaning that as much as they searched, no one found the source of the sounds. This led to a heartbreaking and somewhat insensitive theory, that being that the souls of the children who died in the hospital could never find peace. The spirits now roam the building, looking not just for their parents, but also a way out. Sadly, when it comes to stories of ghosts, it's commonly believed that spirits who died tragically or due to unjust circumstances can never leave the location where they died. However, children aren't the only thing haunting the Kempton Park Hospital. Visitors of the building believe that the spirits of some of its patients also still remain there, the souls of these patients never being able to find peace. One particular story of an encounter with one of the hospital's ghosts comes from a pastor named Joanne Dyer. He was a paramedic in 1992 when the hospital was still open. After just barely saving a patient's life and transporting him to the hospital, Joanne fetched clean supplies for his ambulance. On the way back from fetching these supplies, he met with a doctor who he didn't recognize. He spoke to the doctor for a few minutes before leaving. Later on, he asked a nurse about the doctor. Strangely, the nurse claimed that the doctor Joanne had allegedly spoke to had passed away 3 months earlier. Some of the explorers of the hospital have also observed another strange occurrence, that being hidden doors deep within the building. A few of the people who explored the building have reported finding these doors which cannot be opened. However, they have reported that the doors give off a strange energy. When getting close to the doors, explorers have reported feeling like they needed to get out of the building. They also reported deep feelings of sadness and anger taking over them. None of the people who come across these doors were ever able to open them. Instead, they remain a mystery. However, theories of what they are abundant. Some claim that the spirits in the hospital are there simply because their bodies were never removed from the hospital. While it does seem plausible that the spirit of a person would remain in the place that its body lays, what doesn't seem plausible is that the authorities would just let the bodies remain at the hospital. Others claim that secret experiments were taking place in the building, experiments that were done on humans. The lab for these experiments are allegedly hidden behind these doors. However, that seems like a story that's only possible in a Hollywood movie. With all these insane theories of what went on behind these allegedly hidden doors, there is one that is more prevalent than the others. One of the longest running theories of the Kempton Park Hospital is that the strange things that happened there didn't start with supernatural circumstances. Instead, it's believed that all of the supernatural aspects of the Kempton Park Hospital started because of Satanist rituals. It's believed that Satanists hold meetings in the hospital where they draw on the spirits of people who have died there, allegedly gaining power from these tortured spirits. This leaves the spirits angry and confused, not knowing what to do. They in turn attack anyone who tries to enter the hospital. One of the scariest satanic rituals I've heard about actually takes place on the beach every Easter morning. It's alleged that in the early morning of Easter Sunday, Satanists gather on the beach, where they sacrifice a young virgin and then drink her blood. It's a possibility that similar rituals take place within the walls of the Kempton Park Hospital, with one of the main theories suggesting that the rituals take place behind the hidden doors. It's believed that if you enter the Kempton Park Hospital today, you will find a number of strange things, You may be confronted by the spirits of past patients, or you may hear the sounds of babies crying. While many people have entered the hospital and reported these strange events, as far as we know, all of them have come out alive. So your chances of surviving seems quite high. Regardless, the hospital stands tall, not ready to be demolished or reopened, as a testament to our curiosity and our stories. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. The Kempton Park Hospital holds a lot of secrets, some hidden, some plain to see, and it's unclear if the answers to these secrets will ever be revealed. However, as we observe the bad, we should observe the good as well. That being that even though people died in this hospital, people were saved in it as well.